I was at university and I had a stills camera, took a lot of stills, was quite interested in stills, bought a Super 8 camera because it was kind of moved and it was fun, shot all my mates at rock concerts and strange things and made little videos. Then I managed to buy a little Bolex, which probably nobody knows what it is nowadays, but it's a kind of like they were, you do, fantastic. They were little wind-up 16mm cameras and you had that, but mine had a motor as well, so I could do the wind-up things and do different speeds and things, but also had a motor. And started doing odd little bits and pieces of 16mm film for the University Drama Society, which had a lot of people at the time that were in it, like Paul Holmes and Stuart Deviney and people like that, so I did some little bits and pieces for them, sketches and parts of dramas and things.
You still have them?
No, I think that Stuart Deviney had them, there were stories that he had them under his bed for a while and then he probably, like everybody did in those days, we lived in 27 different flats in 3 years and so God knows what the hell ever happened to them. Then I think my first ever commercial thing was for the Transcendental Meditation Society, and I remember they gave me $1,000 or something. And then the really cool thing was I was doing university I was doing education with a really cool guy called Jack Shellcrass, and when we were doing Ed 3, he said you can do anything you want, you can do bits and pieces, and I actually managed to get some money from the education department and did a short film about the first community college in New Zealand, which was Aorere College in South Auckland, and went up there and did that as my kind of Ed 3 paper. And by that stage I was really getting into it, and in fact I kind of vanished from university shortly thereafter and started making sort of bits and pieces of 16mm films for the Department of Education. And some of the early stuff I kind of shot, but then I started using cameramen and different editors and worked with people like Jeff Stephen, who was a cameraman at the time. Mike Horton cut my early stuff, and so I owe him a debt of gratitude for his kind of difficult attitude of sort of, I don't care that you got up at 6 o'clock in the morning to shoot the sunrise day, if it's a piece of crap, it doesn't move the story forward and we're going to lose it now, you know. So they were fun times, and it was at a time when there was really no sort of freelance independent industry. There was Pacific Films with kind of like the big company, John O'Shea's company, and then there were just a few of us sort of dotted around town, you know, working as sort of very small kind of people. I wasn't very good at working for other people. It's not one of my strengths. Yeah, I mean, it had different strange names and things, but it was essentially, yeah, you know, I had offices in Courtenay Place, which was kind of amusing because I've done a 30-year circle and ended up back in Courtenay Place again. But I had a very small office with a kind of a little desk and a phone. I remember my mother was getting very upset with me at the time because I hadn't finished my degree and I had like 1 unit to go or something, and she kept saying, but you know, you should do this. And I said, but why? You know, what's the point? You know, she said, but you know, because if you have a degree, you can kind of get more money. And I said, I work for myself. You know, what am I going to do? Turn up at this funny little office and bang on the desk and go, look, I've got a BA. You know, give me more money, and then run around the other side of the desk and go, fuck off, there is no more money. You know, I mean, so it was very, very sort of, you know, small time, very small time. The thing that's probably in the history of the film and television business, if you weren't making feature films at that time, you really couldn't make TV. I mean, all the television was made in-house. So Pacific Films was largely, you know, in spite of the fact that people know it now for, you know, its film work and things, a lot of its business was based on corporate filmmaking, you know. So if you didn't want to do corporate filmmaking, you really couldn't make for TV because they had in-house documentary, in-house drama, the whole thing. And so really the local market was quite tight. And so we kind of hit upon this formula that if we made things that had a little bit of educational but also a bit of television, then we could probably sell them worldwide. So we started out doing a lot of these funny little kind of documentaries about children in different lands, children living in high country sheep stations, kids living in, you know, dairy farms and going different places and things like that, and they kind of worked in that kind of crossover market. So there was at that stage a massive market in the US for educational things, and you could sell these films and they'd make like, you know, 1,500 16mm copies of these things and send them all out through the US, and you'd do really, really well out of it. And at the same time, you might also sell it to TV stations in the UK or something like that. So that was, it was, to be honest, it was really almost a business thing. It was like, if you wanted not to work for the networks and you didn't want to make just corporate videos, this was pretty much what you had to do. I love all the aspects of it, actually. The only part of producing that's really boring is when you get into long shoots and you're doing that kind of will we have to shoot another 20 minutes to get the day, and will it rain tomorrow, and things, at which stage I kind of lose a bit of interest. But mostly everything else fascinates me, from raising the money and doing the deals to working on the scripts and the casting and the music and the cuts and everything. I love all of it. Really do. We kind of like to make what we like to make, which is probably a strength and a weakness. From a business point of view, it might be a weakness. From a point of view of having fun and lasting in the business and not getting burnt out and disillusioned, I think it's really important that you do things that kind of push your button. And I've always kind of been interested in that. Maybe it's because we're in Wellington, so we've got a slightly more intrigue about politics and things like that. I mean, I, for my sins, actually worked on a couple of political campaigns, one as a director and one as a producer, which probably is what made me completely cynical about politics and politicians. But I've also liked the way we've done them often, with either the puppets for public eye or the prosthetic work for facelift. It intrigues me, that sort of techniques and things like that. I kind of like that sort of stuff. I mean, it's hard because the market here is quite small, so you can't really do hard satire like you can do maybe in a market like the UK, because and New Zealanders are quite odd. If you do really savage satire in New Zealand, they go, ooh, and they back off. So you're doing a kind of a softer version inevitably here. I know that people that occasionally look at us with a slightly critical eye will say, here's some people who are running a business, and we are running a business. I like the fact that we operate in a reasonably business-like manner, and I like to be busy. I'm not a person who wants to do like I admire people like Galen or Robin Lang. They'll do one really strong project, and they'll do it every few years. I just like to work. I like to go from show to show to show, which tends to mean that I've got probably a slightly more of a television kind of aesthetic.